I'll just pass the mic over to Karen Thomas, our board president, to say some remarks.
The owl, I always found the owl jarring. I'm like, so many things. One of the things I mentioned on the walk, and I guess at risk of repeating everything that I said to our group on the walk, I'm a student in anthropology at UBC. I'm also a baby language learner, and one of the phrases I just recently learned is so it's good feelings in my heart, and that's how it's glossed in English. But on a analytical level, because I'm an academic and we like to tear things apart, it's so much deeper than that. And the word Squamish, it's interpreted as mind, it's interpreted as feelings, but it is literally my inner voice. And it's such a beautiful, simple, and complex thing. And in places like that, this and other places where I feel compelled to think about what I feel inside, because everyone has come here with their own motivations and their own agenda, and their own hopes for the day. And so my hope as the Wild Bird Trust president, as a Tsleil-Waututh community member, as a mother, as a global citizen, I just hope that you are able to take something away today that is transformational for you, whatever that is. But so I am just starting my second term as president of the Wild Bird Trust, and I'm really quite passionate about the work we do. Oh, birds! I'm sorry, birds. I was asked to speak as president. I was like, do I have to talk about birds? Like, I actually don't have a lot to say aside from the fact that birds are a very important part of a system, and a system that Indigenous peoples have also been a part of for millennia. And as an archaeologist, you know, I accept the idea that there are all sorts of contemporary debates about what is tradition. And the one thing that I can say confidently as an archaeologist who studied the archaeological record in the area is that the tradition is adaptation, right? 11,000 years of adaptation. That's what we are seeing. The ancestors have found ways to adapt to a changing climate, to a changing ecosystem, to a changing world, to settler colonialism. We have adapted and we're still here. And our work at the Wild Bird Trust is really about both integration. So it's less about the birds, but also the birds are a part of our collective dreaming for the future, I think. And so my research right now is tracing out of anthropology. Like anthropology, I like to think of it, anthropology is where I'm housed. I'm a reluctant anthropologist. I'm an archaeologist by trade. I've been doing archaeology since 2011. But really, I'm an Indigenous person, I'm an Indigenous scholar, and Indigenous scholarship is boundless. And it transcends the little buckets that we like to put everyone in, and that's what I'm learning right now. I don't know, what else do you want me to say?
Great.
That's great. Thank you everyone for joining us. I did mention I'm a little bit jealous that I didn't go on a walk with Melissa, because I would love to have learned more from her. It's actually the first time we've met in person, because all of our board meetings are on Zoom, so I was really excited to have that opportunity, and I'm sure everyone who joined her on the walk was also very excited. So, pass back everyone.
Want to come up, Melissa? So so thanks for folks, and all those questions, lots of conversation on our walk. We unpacked the liberal place, we talked a little bit about, understanding the history of the site, its relationship to Tsleil-Waututh. We got a lot more into the question of, the governance of the site than I expected, but it's good, those questions are strong and important, because today is really about training the trainer and learning what we have done here and then sharing it across the province and with you to carry with you. So later on in the afternoon, the last two sessions, one is about what we're doing. The afternoon is basically what land and as settlers and migrants, and how that's potentially in conflict with Indigenous ways of being. So we got four beautiful speakers, with different approaches. So that's right after lunch, and then we'll move into modeling systems of organizations, like a decolonizing a birding organization, for example. So we'll look at what we've done here to operate Trusted BC. And but there was a lot of questions this morning already about that. So I was excited. I said, okay, we'll unpack it further this afternoon. And then the last session this afternoon will be about like what do you do and how do we support you in carrying that work forward. So that's a bit of a summary of what we'll talk about. So.
Hi, everyone. On our walk, we talked about barriers in birding and ways people have felt included and ways that we can make birding more inclusive. Some people talked about single experience while birding. We also got to see some cool things like crows chasing red-tailed hawk. We saw white-throated sparrow, which is uncommon, and we also saw northern shrike attacking a robin. It was really neat to see. So yeah, and I think everybody had a really good time, and it was a really good walk. I thought. I don't know if anybody from the walk wants to talk about what they saw, or have they had anything to say? No. All right. So.
And Steve's presentation, is it ready on the laptop and all that? The tech is all good. I'm looking at it for Isabel, yeah. So I gave a bit of an overview today. I guess the Aaron, and Wes, we've been doing this work now for 8 years. When we started the work, it was not a happy moment for the Wild Trust of BC, because this room was filled with 80 people in struggle. There's 2 camps in the organization. I was sort of reluctantly leading one of them. Someone had asked me if I wanted to join the board or to take over the board. What I realized later was that it was like 2 camps of white people fighting each other. Short and sweet. And I thought, okay, I'll join, but my goal is decolonization. So if you want to have me, what I didn't realize was the group that I was organizing really just wanted to take it over and run it in spite of the other group. And ironically, then I organized the other group against the group that I was leading. Which I say kind of as a joke, but it really speaks to that white entitlement. Right, and so actually none of them were interested in decolonization. So, yeah, I feel very sad about that. I feel like all those memories of like that struggle, and I want these lessons to be useful for you, right? So that the work we do as birders to be accountable to what Melissa was talking about, the struggle that BIPOC birders face, that women face, that people who don't have a park tariff, 200 mil lenses, queer folks that they face, ageism, right? Today's about that as well. Because when we talk about decolonization, we're also talking about white supremacy, we're talking about dismantling these systems. So we can be in alignment with Tsleil-Waututh here, but you can be in alignment with the people that you're working with, the First Nations that you're working with. And so I think there is that intersectional approach is critical. But we want to go beyond EDI as well. We want to go beyond that because often equity, diversity, inclusion doesn't include decolonization, it doesn't include some of those structural pieces. And so I think that's what we have to offer today is how do we go to the personal change, how do we go to the organizational change, and how do we go to the sector change? And we can't skip. We can't say, hey, let's decolonize the birding community when we don't know what our own process is and we're not holding each other accountable. And lifting each other up, and then our organizations are stuck because we're super passionate, but our board isn't ready for it, right? So today's also about that.